local recording. Okay, now locally recording, live from Nexus, on the entity server of NA, America. And then we went into an expedition. Evil from the Ether. Go. So this is my Esper. There's a little saying, Espers are the besters, which I've still yet to agree with this, but I do agree that Espers are funzors. Espers are funzors. Funzors is a word. It should be. I'm dressed like a panda. I've got cool hollow images sticking out of me, and I've got a blade on my back. And I've got slippers on. Cruising with style. And this is Evil from the Ether, and this is the captain, and he's got a problem. Because all captains have problems. And then I'm going to waddle my way over here and grab this crew log, and I'm going to hit this button and then get knocked on my bum. Because it probably short-circuited and sent like a feedback loop, you know, and just like gave me a little zap. Because somebody probably booby-trapped it. And now they gotta make me roll my little chew a ball bum and grab these scavenged parts without disturbing the locals. Because the locals, they like to hang around, and that's the I just disturbed the locals sound. But I'm gonna keep on moving because I don't want to disrupt the herd. I just want to get this one's attention. Come on over here. Bring them over here, and I only need a split second to actually grab this Datacron. Like that. But now I gotta get them back together because I gotta knock them on their bums. Come on, get over here and sit. Thank you. And then I'm gonna go hit this button. Boop. And then I'm gonna strut on out of here. Later, losers. And then I'm going over here. I'm gonna grab this button, this little Datacron right in here, nice and quick, and then I'm gonna say see you later before they even knew I was there. Because I am a bandit. And then this dude gonna pop the gadget, and this is gonna be the first thing that's gonna die on my little trip here. And I really wish that I had my interrupt up for that cast, but that's not too bad. And I'm just gonna blast him with all of my might and my power. But that whirlwind is the thing that sucks the most. So if you're gonna use an interrupt at all on anything, save it for that, for this guy. That whirlwind is really irritating. This is kind of annoying, but another thing with this guy is you don't want to let him move around too much, because if he moves around too much from where you first see him and pull him, he won't actually, he'll reset actually. So you want to kind of keep him still within reason. As long as you're not going to die, just don't keep running around the room moving him all over and he won't reset. Grab that Datacron, and then when you get through this door, chill, because you got a laser grid to jump through. And it's not hard, just, you know, don't freak out. There's lasers, but they're not that bad. Just pretend that you're at, you know, gym class, you know, and they done put up some little dumb wires there, and you just gotta step over them, you know. It's not a big deal. Don't freak out. But if you do get hit by one of those lasers, don't move. Don't, like, do anything. Take your hand off your keyboard. And the most that you will get hit by those lasers is twice. And if you can survive getting hit twice, then you can stop and you can heal yourself and then move forward and carry on. But if you get hit by a laser and then you freak out and you hit your keyboard and you try and move, then you could get hit more than twice. You could get hit 3 times. And if I get hit 3 times, I'm dead. And I have a lot of HP. So I would highly recommend not getting hit more than twice. And if you gotta interrupt any one of these dudes, interrupt this insane crew chief, because this insane crew chief is insane. And does the most damage out of anything in this room. And has the most HP. And pats right through the middle. And if you want to get these buttons, you're pretty much gonna have to deal with this bitch eventually. You can sneak around her, but it depends on what class you're playing and, you know, how sneaky you feel like being. So I felt like being kind of sneaky and not killing this whole room. But I killed those 5 mobs because they were in my way. and I decided that they had to go. That's right. And then we killed this little light thing over here, but I like to pull it back into this room because the next thing to do is to grab the little data pad thing next to me. Right there, and then those guys behind me wake up. But there's mines in that room, so I don't want to go back forward. I want to go here, knock them down, hit them all with a bird, pop my thingy, and just kill them, but don't stay in that room back there because there's bombs back in that room. I'm going to call them bombs. They're actually delayed proximity mines, but they're called etheric portals. But they behave like delayed proximity mines. So there's a delay before there's a blast. And as long as you see that, you know, delayed blast going off, just don't go forward or back up so that you're not in it. But they have a fixed location where they are. That's why they behave like, you know, invisible delayed proximity mines. So those portals, they're not random. They have fixed locations. You just need to know where they are. And this part here, you don't even have to kill them. Just knock them on their bum or stun them and hit this button. And then run on out of there. Make sure you get that other Datacron too. And then the last Datacron is right there in that back corner. And these guys gotta die. But those other mobs don't necessarily have to die. But if they're in your way, just kill them. Because they are in the way. And besides, killing stuff is fun. Out of my way. Alright. See, now we've got some right here. And I knew that they were there, so I'm going to let them go off. And they'll always be there. They're always going to try to blow up when you go to grab that Datacron. And same right there. In that first room right there. Just run right through them. Kill these things. And then the same deal going into the next room. Running through. There's going to be more delayed mines in there. Right there. Just keep on running. Or if someone's running ahead of you because you're in a group, stop and let them go off and then run forward. You don't have to worry about the door locking you out. It won't lock you out. If you have stuns on these guys and you want to use a stun, I would recommend using the stun after your shield breaks and then back up a little bit. Give your shield enough time to reboot. Because your shield is your shield, and that's damage mitigation, but it needs time to reboot, and it shouldn't need much time. So you can check how much time your shield needs to reboot, and for a DPS, your reboot time should be 2.68 seconds. So if you have a shield that has a longer reboot time, like 5 seconds or longer, then that's not really an optimal reboot time for a DPS shield. So just keep that in mind, but still use the best shield that you have. And just be aware that it needs time to reboot. And if your stun lasts for 2.5 seconds and you need 2.6 seconds to reboot your shield, as long as you're not standing face to face with your target and you back up a bit, then your shield should have time to reboot and you should be able to get at least a good part of your shield back. And that's extra damage mitt that you can use again. Keep yourself alive. Staying in the fight. And this one here, when you get this mob down to 50%, that's when she does her transition right there. So you know when you're getting close that you're going to have to back up pretty close. But you can still hit her while she's phasing up until she's just about phased. And then she's going to want to jump. There's another way that you can get around that little part there. If you stun her while she's getting low on 50% HP, like just about to cross the 50% HP threshold, if you stun her before then she'll transition, and then she'll do the pulse afterwards. The knockback comes afterwards, and then when she tries to jump, if you have an interrupt up, you can actually interrupt that jump then, and you can get another move then, and then just melt her down. Or you can do it the way that I did it. And all I got for my troubles was snake eyes. Wonderful. I'll keep my bad probability alternator. But that was evil from the Ether Gold run with my Esper. And it wasn't too bad. That was like, what, 8 minutes and something seconds? So that's not too bad. So, and this was the build that I used here. It was a ranged build. I went with a ranged spec for this. So that's basically tier 1 telekinetic strike, tier 8 mind burst. I topped up a little bit of extra points into telekinetic storm, but it's still basically tier 4 with a couple extra points. Tier 4 spectral swarm. So this gives my phantoms some extra life steal while they're attacking, and they also explode when they disappear, and that gives me extra damage or lifesteal return from that, and it generates a psi point. So, and you get the Spectre Swarm from specking this Spectral Swarm. You have to spec it there. It's kind of like Assassinate for spell slingers, but this is great because it generates psi points, and it's an insta-cast ability on a 10-second cooldown. So this is a really great ability to have for an Esper period. But the problem with these phantoms is sometimes you want to be subtle, and you want to be moving through a tight, close area, and you'll kill your target, and then the phantoms will look around for something else, and if anything else is around, they're going to jump right on top of it and put you back in combat, and that can be a problem sometimes, so you have to be aware of that with your phantoms. And then Haunt here, I've got this at tier 8. So I like having this sort of a spec here. And I also have Crush as my interrupt, my only interrupt, but it's a good one. But it has a 30-second cooldown, so I have to use it, you know, sparingly at the right times, either to stun a bunch of mobs, like trash mobs that are beating me up, and I need to give my shield time to reboot, like I was explaining. So I can use it for that, to give my shield time to reboot. Or I can also use it against like a boss to interrupt a very specific ability, or just to give myself a moment of opportunity, which is 50% increased damage, and their HP bar turns from normal color to purple. So when you successfully interrupt, you see their HP bar change color, and you get a 50% increased damage boost while they're interrupted for that period of time. So that's one reason why you want to have your interrupts and use your interrupts properly, effectively, and you know, some abilities are going to be prioritized to be interrupt over other abilities as well. But you definitely never want to have, like, at least you don't have no interrupts on your bar. You should always have at least one interrupt, one good stun / interrupt on your bar. And sometimes even if you're running in a group with other people, and especially if the mobs have interrupt armor, then you would want to have 2 interrupts. And if I had to drop anything on my bar here for an extra interrupt, I would drop Telekinetic Storm. And my DPS would drop from speccing at the points in this, and I could use either not Geist, Projected Spirit is not one. What is my other? I have another interrupt armor break. Incapacitate. Imply subdue. No, it's not that. Fade out. Restraint. I think I have to spec something up. Crush. Anyways, I would add one more interrupt, whatever it might be, and I can't even seem to remember what it is off the top of my head. But I'm sure that they have more than one interrupt, or I really hope that they do. Yeah, there is another one, and you could throw that in there. And then what I would otherwise do is put extra points into either Reap or Concentrated Blade. If you had like an RMT class set, then you'd want to be speccing up Concentrated Blade instead. But this is just what I used for an expedition with my gear, and you know, with what I was running. For what I was running, it was, you know, basically ideal. This was ideal for what I was running. Just a solo expedition by myself. I only needed one interrupt, you know, for that. And I had Telekinetic Storm spec'd up so that I could get my AoE dot out, and I could hit him with my Mind Blast. So when I'm popping my innate ability, I could generate psi points fast enough that I can get a tier 5 Telekinetic Storm on them to start shredding them and dealing dot damage, and then I can still build my psi points up fast enough to hit him with a couple of Mind Bursts really quickly. So that's a lot of, you know, AoE dot damage from this, and then direct damage and dot damage from the Mind Bursts. So a 5-point spender, this is 10k damage, and it leaves dot damage behind, hits 5 targets, penetrates. Hardest part is that you gotta be facing them. There's also melee spec that you can use as an Esper, but this is just what I used for now. So, and I did a nice little playthrough of M13, and I'll do more playthroughs and stuff with my other tunes, and make some recording videos of me playing in my specs and share them with you guys, and get them up on my YouTube channel soon. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll get more coming soon.